so this is going to be a healing video for Patreon and possibly for YouTube eventually. And I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody on Patreon who supports me and means that we can continue making these videos. Thank you so much to everybody on there. And so this video is very much about a healing technique which is hardwired into my soul. It's part of my personal gnosis. I was never taught it. It's something that just I naturally embody, I naturally carry out. And some of it comes from perhaps being too much in the mind, too much in your own head, and needing a way to release that. So I'm calling it spirit voice or spirit talk, healing breath technique. And it's in its basic form, it is to speak it to the air, to release it. When you speak it to the wind, spirits listen, and then it is said, and the universal council hears you. So in our lifetimes, we all go through situations which are without resolution. We live in a social media culture where it's easy enough to block people, but not have any real conversation, not have any real ending, and feel suddenly very adrift in a situation that you didn't get the closure that you needed of any kind. And so when that happens, we can get very much in our own head. We can very much poison ourselves this way. I don't think it is, however, purely torturing or punishing yourself to hold a conversation in your head with a person. I think it's actually intuitive. I think the soul is actually speaking to the other soul. Whether they're listening or not is an entirely different thing. If they're spiritually intuitive, maybe, or maybe they'll pick it up in dreams. But I think it's totally possible to have soul-to-soul arguments, depending on a number of factors, how connected you were as people, how strong the spiritual bond was, whether it's your soul or your ego having the conversation, and usually it's a mixture of both, obviously, when there's anger involved. And mental health can affect it too, of course. There are people who believe they know things and aren't mentally well enough to determine what's happening spiritually. And like I've seen that recently, and it can get really vicious really fast. No hatred towards any kind of people who are suffering from mental health problems. I suffer with anxiety and depression, so absolutely nothing. But like when people, it's a difficult thing, because it's difficult to know where the line is when people get that vicious. But there are a number of factors where I feel like you having those conversations with another person are actually soul-to-soul connection. And even if you're not connecting with them, you are manifesting that into reality. So those arguments are still kind of valid. Those feelings are still obviously very valid. And so you are manifesting that even if it's not true for other people. Now, if you get stuck in that because you're not getting the closure that you want, and you keep having these arguments, you keep feeling the vibrations maybe from the other person, and you're then fighting against it, you're arguing against it, like you need to put your side out there and you've been denied that for whatever reason, it can get to be a real poisonous situation. And it's like the bowl within yourself filling up full of poison, that is being dumped there by someone else, usually because they're the unfairness of refusing to have the conversations that need to be had or whatever it needs to be, and just feels like basically they just plug it in, so that the poison just rises and it's got nowhere to go, because they don't want to have the fight, they don't want to have the argument, they don't want to hold themselves accountable, they don't want the consequences of their actions, whatever it might be. And I'm not saying one party is completely blameless or anything like that, which is not healthy for a healing state, bearing in mind. I'm just explaining how I see these inner conversations of soul when it comes to these painful situations. Now, when do we know it's not? Well, maybe if you're having like a wildly out of the like crazy argument in your head with this person, and that's things that they never would have said, and deep down you know it, and maybe it's just blowing it, it's getting very theatrical, it's getting very on your own high horse to make yourself feel better, that's not a soul conversation, really. That's full blown, like, that's an egotistical thing to try and make yourself feel better or correct. I think there is a difference between wanting to feel correct and have power over someone than there is wanting a resolution, and that's where the line is between those. They bleed into each other. It's not straightforward or simple, but we have to unpick that as we're doing the healing work for ourselves, that we don't get to have power over another person, we get to have power over ourselves. And that's what this technique is all about, taking the power back. So it's relatively simple. It's taking the things in your head and speaking them into being, preferably outside and preferably where there is wind. If it's not always possible, there's always air, and the spirits are everywhere. So it doesn't have to be outside, it doesn't have to be in wind, but I find that's very purifying anyway, and it can be really helpful if you can manage that. If not, you can't, and we make do, because that's what witches do. We make magic, wherever it may be. So yes, I was like, I'll just go off to the ether. So you go out with the intention, first and foremost. So I'm going out with the intention of releasing. I'm going out with the intention of healing. You might want to cleanse yourself before you do it. You might go through a purification process. You might have a ritual bath before you go outside. You might have a ritual shower, have a good scrub down, get physically clean is a good starting off point. You might smudge yourself. Go on and smudge yourself. Or you might cleanse yourself with Florida water. However you might want to do that. You might want to take your cleansing crystal. You want to take a few deep healing breaths and get it all out. You might want to wiggle the body. It's good. It's good for wiggling. I mean, no, I'm strange. I'm sorry. But wiggling the body does help. Singing can help. Dancing can help. Strong movements of the body can help, and we are going to talk about the physical body as a vessel, because I am going to do that video. I'm determined. I was like thinking about it all last month while I was sick and unhappy and sad and stuff, and I was like, I want to do it in that voice, because I was losing my voice. Anyway, so purification before you leave, and as you cross the threshold, you have to consider and maybe say out loud that you do not wish to bring these thoughts, this pain, back into the house. It's not that it's going to be a one-time miracle cure, unless it is, in which case fabulous. But if it's not, it's not. So don't worry about it too much if it isn't. If that's the case, that's the case. So as you leave, you cross the threshold, you cross into another world of existence, just like you do every time you cross the threshold. You step over the door and you make the conscious decision that you don't want to bring this back with you. You want this to be said and be done with. And even if that's just what you say in your head, as I leave, I want this to be done with. It's simple, powerful, strong. And then you go out into the world and you speak into the wind. And you know that the spirits of the land and the sky and the sea are all listening. That's the Celtic trio, but however you want to work, earth, air, fire, water, spirits, goddess, God, however you want to work, all of them, if you like. And you say to the universe, to the spiritual council, to the elders beyond our reach, that this is a situation, these are my words, this is how I was made to feel, this is what was done to me. I release it, I speak it, I say that it happened, I know that it happened, and I release it through the power of my voice from my energetic state. I pull the needles out and release it out for you, for the universe to bear witness and judgment if necessary. It's a powerful thing. The universe will make it right. Trust in that. Trust and believe. And as you feel the words pouring from the self, you pull out the energetic hooks with every word. And if you need to cry, scream and howl and release, then do it. Try not to frighten too many people, but do it. Pull it out, get rid of it, shift the energy, tear it from the self. Don't allow those hooks to remain in you. Don't allow anger to poison you long term. I don't believe in shaming any emotions, but after too long, they need to go. They need to be released. They need to continue in their cycle of existence. And that way, this breath technique, this spiritual talk, helps you to remove the energy which is within you, the anger, the sadness, the pain, the memories that are tormenting you, the conversations you don't want to have over and over and over again because you didn't get the resolution you needed, because your brain's trying to work out the pattern, the answer, the solution. It just wants it to stop. It just wants it to stop hurting, but that's not how healing works. So this is a process of opening the door, kicking all of the dust out, sweeping it all out of you by speaking it out loud, like this happened and this happened and it said this, they hurt me, they used me, they stole from me, whatever they did, and release it out into the world, out into the air. Breathe it out, and then once it's out, you breathe in. And you might want to breathe in healing on purpose. You breathe in my strength and the strength of the earth. I breathe in my strength and the strength of the air. I breathe in my strength and the strength of the sea. I breathe in my strength and the strength all around me, the strength of my ancestors, the strength of the spirits who support me and protect me. I breathe in my strength, my resilience, my ability to start the healing process. And then there is an exchange. You have walked things out the door and you breathe things in. And you are the threshold. You are the liminal point. And as you release, you bring in, and life starts anew. And the healing can begin from that point. And I should know because I've been doing it and it helps. So I hope that was a helpful video. It's kind of a short one, but I think it's a really powerful technique and it doesn't need a whole lot of bells and whistles. Just some explanation of how powerful I feel it is and how helpful I feel it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, many blessings.